Welcome back to another episode of Teen Talks. This is part two of the GYLS segment of this podcast. And, Susan, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what GYLS is, because you were just there, you just experienced it. So kind of give us an idea of what it is for those of the people who are watching and listening who maybe haven't watched the first part of the episode.
Although I'd highly recommend they stop and watch the first part and then come back to this. But yes, it's the Global Youth Leadership Summit, and it takes place every year. I think it's most of the time in San Diego. It's one time a year. It's a Tony Robbins event, but it's a nonprofit foundation. And so 300 kids from all over the world come. We had 80 volunteer captains and adults and older kids come to serve these kids in a way to build leadership skills, kind of find out who they are and come into their own and transform them. And it was absolutely amazing. Here's my t-shirt. They give you 5 of these. You get a new t-shirt every day. So
because of how much you sweat all the time. At least that was the case for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was quite the experience, and you can learn more about it in episode 1, where we go deep into what it actually is. Today we're going to share more like stories of what we saw, and same with Rehan. So Rehan, why don't we start with you? And because Rehan went for 2 years and it was life-changing on his first year. And then you come back and you are an alumni, so then you have a new role. You know, explain that and how that went for you.
Yeah, and I even want to start by saying that even the second year was life-changing for me too, in a different way. Like you said, it's a different type of experience because you're going back as an alumni, because the first time you go, it's as an ambassador, so you're experiencing it for the first time. And then you can decide, you can pretty much decide to go back as an alumni, and there's an application process, and it's a more selective group of teenagers who have been to the program once and who want to come back and participate
and
in
have
this
shown
different
some
role.
Leadership possibility, right? Leadership skills.
I think because there's a whole process to get in anyways. And you just have a different role, and the role essentially that alumni have, this role is pretty much to help the ambassadors, so those who are there for the first time. It's just help them integrate the whole entire program and just
you mean like help
support.
kids like you on that first day when you were so nervous and you were like, what the heck am I here for? Those kids?
Exactly those kids. Those kids who maybe don't feel like they're in the right place. Those kids who might be shy. Those kids who, just feel like they don't belong. And the alumni, I think the biggest role that they play, is the most important role, in my opinion, is that they build a bond with those people to help them experience the program in the best way possible. So it was an amazing experience on that end. But then at the same time, when you go back as an alumni, you still partake in all of most of the events. There are a few things that are different, but it's still such a rich experience as well. And like I said, life-changing.
Because I was a captain, so I'm one of the adults, and then there are many adults, but the role of the alumni, and then there's some other alumni can go up and be in a higher level role, but I think the role of the alumni is so important, because it's not an adult that's saying, this is cool, come do this. It's another one who's been through it, and they know, and they've experienced, and you're kind of looked up to as a role model almost. So I think it's a hugely important role.
And also like you were saying, there are different roles. So there's ambassadors that you're going in for the first time, and then it's almost like a pyramid. So you have all of these ambassadors, and then they can go back as alumni. So there's a select few who can come back as alumni, and then from there are youth leaders, and youth leaders are actually nominated from the alumni group. And I was fortunate enough actually to be nominated, but unfortunately I couldn't make it because of things that were happening in my life when it came to my soccer training and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to make it, but honestly, looking back at it, it's one of those things where I know I missed something there, but like you were saying, that alumni role, it's like that connection, it's that middle ground where the
Mhm.
ambassadors can look up to the alumni and be like, you know what, I can still see myself in them. I can still relate to them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. And then from an alumni's point of view, I mean, going back, first of all, you get to serve in some way, you get to help out a little bit more, be more involved. It's not all about you anymore. You're also there to help contribute in some way. But at the same time, you can go back, see your friends that you met previous years.
Mhm.
You just feel more comfortable because you know exactly what it feels like. You're going back into that same environment. So it was a really good time.
Awesome. And you had
Yeah.
more, even more transformation, right? From than the first time.
Oh
You
yeah, it
probably
was
thought,
a
oh, it's not, I've already done this. It's not going to do anything for me right now. I'm just going to serve these people and it's going to be all good.
yeah, no, very it was a it took me actually it took me by surprise actually because I thought that, you know, you do it once and then you're good, but it wasn't the case at all. In fact, like I remember I think I cried first of all a lot more during my alumni year than I did in my ambassador year.
It meant more,
Uh
maybe. You understood it more.
Understood it more, but also I think I opened up a lot more. I think I had gone through more stuff in my life and just in life in general, I was understanding stuff a little bit more and I was able to be a little bit more vulnerable. And just to give like an example quickly, from a very young age, I've been so dedicated and ambitious when it's come to my soccer journey because I've been pursuing it for a really long time. When I was 13, moved to France on my own and then lived on my own for quite some time as well. And all of this was for this dream of mine, this pursuit that I had. But it also meant that I was blocking off other things in my life. I wasn't going out, you know, I would make my decisions always based on soccer, what was best for me when it came to soccer. And it was also I also made decisions when it came to my relationships based off of that as well. So I would never entertain, you know, when you're a teenager, I mean, you have feelings and stuff and you know, I would never entertain any romantic relationships ever. Even if I liked someone and I knew that they liked me back, like even though that was the case, my response was always like, I'm sorry, I have to focus on soccer. And it was always that mindset that I had. But then GYLS actually helped me break through that because it was one of the things that I knew I wanted. I wanted to be able to experience a deeper level of connection with someone, but I didn't believe that I could because I was focused on something else. And I didn't think that the two could come together.
Mhm.
And then just going through some of the stuff at GYLS that actually helped me understand that, you know, they can work together. They can actually help each other. You know,
Yeah.
having someone that you care about that much can help motivate you. And then that person can also support you with your dream and they can go hand in hand. And yeah, it changed a lot in my life because then even after that I got into my first relationship and was with that person for a really long time and you know it was a really beautiful relationship. I'm really happy that I was able to experience that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
those are the types of
Very
things that you know you experience at GLS. You break through these things and you don't really realize that you have things to break through or that there are things that you're holding in, but it's in this type of an event and experience that you're able to kind of unlock that within yourself and kind of deal with it and yeah, just get better and grow in some way.
Yeah, that was weird too because I never thought that I would have any growth there other than, learning more about teenagers and helping them, but I never
Yeah.
figured that I would have any breakthroughs. But it was weird because there's this activity, I think we talked about it in the last one, the board break. And so you write down limiting beliefs or things that are holding you back and you write them on the board. And then on the other side of the board, you write down what that looks for like for you once you break through that.
Yeah.
How's it going to change your life? And then you have to break the board. And I've done that like 3 or 4 times in other Tony Robbins events that I've been at, and never had a problem. He's always very emotional and everything. But I thought, I didn't even know I was going to be able to do this. They're like, yeah, captains can do this. Let's do it. And so all the kids go through and watch it, and it's so emotional because you see things on those boards that really are sad, and that they think that, or think they have to break through this stuff. But I get up there, and the youth leaders are holding the boards like this, and you got to come at it and go bam and hit it. And I'm like hitting it, and nothing's happening. And I'm just like, what? I've always been able to break through the board. So then they're like, okay, well, sometimes you have to break it a different way, going down on it between a couple of chairs or whatever. So I'm like, I go over to this other group where all the kids are that couldn't break it that way. So they're breaking it this new way, and they're all coming up, they're done. And I'm standing there with my board and everything. And I'm like, oh, well, it's okay. I don't need to do it. And all of a sudden, Katie, one of the trainers, grabs me and she goes, you need to break your board. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I don't need to do it. It's okay. She goes, no, you need to break your board. She starts talking to me. She goes, tell me about what your limiting beliefs are, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden I look up, and all these kids are around me. All of them are around me watching this. She's hugging me. She's telling me, you got to do this, da, da, da. And all of a sudden they have me do it, and all they take, they're like, Susan, Susan, Susan. You know, it was just like, it gives me goosebumps right now because it just was so unexpected. And of course I made it through the board. They all cheer and everything. And I just started crying, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So, you know, you think, oh, I don't have anything to break through. We always do.
Yeah, we always do. There's always something. There's always
Yeah, but
something.
just the love that I felt right then, it was
Yeah.
amazing. It was amazing. Anyway, so
Yeah. But thank you for sharing that, Susan, because I know like that it must have been, that moment right there is very, in some ways it's like an overwhelm of emotion,
yeah.
because there's so much of it at once, right?
Mhm.
And but it just really goes to show that people, like, they come into that event a certain way and then they come out of it a completely different way,
Yeah.
and they evolve and they change. And in fact, I don't want to say that they change. I think they find themselves. I think that's a
Yeah,
better way
I
of
think
putting
it's a
it.
better way.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you saw, like, must have seen firsthand, like, people, like these teenagers, go through that experience and almost, come into themselves, into their true selves. I don't know if you can share any stories of, some of the kids who you were
Yeah, I
able
mean,
to see, experience that firsthand.
I can think of one specifically because I was in charge, or not in charge. So there's like 5 or 6 adults, and we have on our team about 26, 27 kids. And so we go through the day doing events and things. And we were doing this scavenger hunt, which we talked about before, and it's geo gaming. So it was all on, somebody had to be in charge with the phone to follow, to go where to go, right? And this kid had been watching the whole time, because we're into day like 4, I think. And the young man who who's kind of gangly and real quiet, and just kind of he participated, but he didn't put himself out there at all. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, gaming on a device, steps right up, it real quietly. And then he goes, I'll put it on mine. So he's the one now. And at first he was really quiet about it and just kind of looking at it. And then all of a sudden it was like, we kept going to new, the spots, and he's telling me we need to go over here. And all of a sudden his whole demeanor changed. It was really interesting to watch, because he went from this quiet to all of a sudden standing up straight and saying, we need to go over here, and talking to them. And what do you think about this? And it was like he became a leader. He just rose. He had found his tech stuff that sparked his passion, and that's what he used to become a leader. And then the kids just, once they completed it and everything, they were all over him, just like, yay, thanks for
Yeah.
leading us to this. And it was the coolest thing to see.
Yeah.
Now that was one thing I saw. Another thing I saw was on the first day, there were these 2 girls that didn't seem to want to, didn't have buy-in. They were like standing back. Okay. And I hate to say it, but it's like the typical little blonde, cute little thing. And then this other girl who's brunette and just a doll, but they're back like this, and not participating in anything and almost like rolling their eyes of like, oh, this is so stupid and that kind of stuff, you know. So I kept watching them, and then I tried to, after the next day or so, I tried to get them to participate, and they didn't want to. They kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And um by day 4, I think it was, something happened where the blonde girl, she was definitely the leader of the two. And something happened where all of a sudden she found some connection to want to participate in something. And the other girl was like on her like this, like, let's go, you know, hey, you know. And she just turns around at her and she goes, get off me, bitch. And I was just like, and I was watching her, and she was trying to be friends with her, and she just pushed her away like she was nothing, and talking to her in language that was just so mean. I couldn't believe it. So I ended up talking to somebody about it who knew, and they said that the darker girl, her dad had just passed away a month ago, and her mom was somehow involved in the Tony world, and she was really struggling. And so I'm sure she latched onto this girl because this girl was probably just looking for I'm going to call her the mean girl. I'm sure she was looking for someone to just kind of come with me, and we're not going to do this thing. I'm going to, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then she turned, and then she's worth nothing, you know? So I got the opportunity to help her and get closer to her because I was on the medic team, and she had a really bad cold sore coming on. So I had to really help her. So it gave me a chance to serve her. I go out of my way to connect with her. And I just remember hugging her and saying, I saw the way she talked to you. You don't deserve that. You're better than that. Do not hang around with people who treat you that way. Pull yourself apart. And I think she really appreciated hearing that. I don't know if it's going to help her going forward, but it definitely shocked me to actually see right in front of my face how badly someone could treat someone else.
Yeah.
So, but I think that whole event is going to teach her a ton. She's probably going to walk away with, you know, I need to be braver to be with people that treat me well.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, but the other girl, you know.
Yeah. The stories that you hear about the people over there are unfathomable.
Yeah.
There are stories that, like, it's one of the most, it's heartbreaking in so many ways, but at the same time, because you're there all together and you're sharing a room and you're sharing this experience, it's one of those, it's such a weird mix of energy, and in the sense, like, there's so much love and so much empathy and understanding for one another that you get this really, really weird feeling of just feeling okay amongst, like,
Vulnerable. It's okay
yeah,
to be vulnerable.
it's okay, you
Yeah.
feel comfortable, you feel okay opening up, you know, like, I remember opening up in ways like I've never opened up in my life. To this day, I've never opened up as much as I did at that event to
Yeah,
people who I've only known for 3 or 4 days, which is
I know.
crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
And yeah, it's what an experience. What an experience.
In my small group,
Mm,
there were 6 girls, and then me and my co-captain, and then we would have a trainer come in to talk with us and stuff. And that was the debrief at the end of each day. And the first day it was like, well, you know, nobody said much. Second day, one or two opened up a little more. Third day, this one girl opened up a ton, and it
mm,
was just like telling us about her life and how much she's going through with her family, her parents, an alcoholic father, moving constantly, abuse, trying to take care of her siblings. It just, and she was 16 or 17 years old, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, to take on all this stuff. She's got
yeah.
no stability. They're moving all the time. Sometimes they don't have food, you know, this kind of stuff. It was just heartbreaking. And to see the girls come around her and just love on her. And I mean, she was sobbing at some point. And the
Yeah.
trainer who was there working with her, she really, really helped her.
Yeah.
Helped her see patterns, helped her see things that she needed, that could help her to not to control what she could control and not what she couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful, actually. And it was so hard when everybody had to leave the last day. Ah, it's hugs and tears and
Yeah.
from everybody. I made so many adult connections too that I'll cherish forever. We're still in
Yeah.
contact with. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just overall such a good event. And it's the thing is that Susan and I were talking of how it's an event that happens once a year. And it happens once a year, so you get this big high, then you have to try and maintain that momentum for as long as you can, but then inevitably what happens is you get back into your usual life and your habits and stuff like that, and then you kind of get this dip, and then if you're able to go back again, then you'll go back into the high. But what we're thinking, like what we really want to do at the end of the day is to be able to almost keep the momentum going from an event like that, or to
yeah.
create some sort of a momentum where teenagers and just people in general are able to live at that high of a state throughout their lives, and for
Mhm.
not to be inconsistent. Because I think that's the way we can put it. Like when you're at GYLS, you're in a beautiful state. Like that's what it
Yeah.
is. It's as simple as that.
Mhm.
And you crave it. You
Yeah.
crave to feel that way again and again and again and again. And it's a healthy craving to have. It's very, very healthy because of how positive it is.
Mhm.
And yes,
And then you
I
get back to
just
real life
exactly. And then
and shit happens. Let me just say that it
yeah,
happens. And then it's a little harder. But if you can keep that going,
mm,
I mean, we learned in there and learned a lot about how you can just change your emotional mindset like that if
yeah,
you know how to do it. And keeping that momentum going of bringing that good stuff in, continually working on all the positives, and then not letting your limiting beliefs take over. It
yeah,
takes work. It takes constant um, constant work. I mean, and you have to know how to get there
yeah,
because it's not intuitive. It's something you learn to practice.
yeah.
And
But I think one thing is for sure. I think that teenagers that go to this event, their life changes in some way.
oh,
Like it
definitely.
definitely takes a different trajectory. And yeah, I think Susan and I would both recommend it 100% to anyone, anyone out there. So like all the parents that are listening or watching this, like send them, send your
Yeah.
kid if you can, if you can, please do it because it will change their lives.
Hmm.
It will
Yeah.
absolutely change their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you
I
want
would
to
say
add?
99% of those kids, their lives were changed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Rehan and I, we are offering courses and things because this is so near and dear to our heart that this is why Firefly Quest is around, and Rehan's doing trainings and coaching and all that. So, if you want to take your kid and elevate them, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But for right now, we just want to give you strategies and tips and um,
Yeah,
value.
and share experiences as well. Share whether it's my experiences as a teenager, Susan's experience as a parent, or even her experiences as a teenager as well, and what she went through, and then things like this, right? Events like this that are life changing and that create breakthroughs because at the end of the day, we just want the best for the world and for the people in
Yeah.
the world. So
Mhm.
yeah, just
And we're still learning every day. I mean, I got so many books.
yeah,
I'm constantly learning and trying to get better because we can always get better. And I just think having the help and the wisdom from other people who it's just so valuable. It's life-changing, and life is too short
Yeah.
to live unhappy, and to live beautifully starting at a young age and know how to do that is just, it's priceless. It's
Yeah.
priceless.
Yeah. I think the way I like to put it is I learn for a living, in the sense I learn so I can share what I learn with other people,
Mhm.
and so I can also apply it in my own life. So learn something, use it in my life. If it works, then I'll share it with everyone else. And
Yeah,
it's kind of like you
exactly.
just learn for a living. But yeah, I think, yeah, GYLS is amazing. Send your kids there right now. Just go, 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 everyone. Just go
We'll
search
have
it
a
up.
link. We'll
We'll
have a
have a
link
link.
to apply. I'm not sure when applications are open, but it's every year in July.
Yeah,
And usually in San Diego. For the last 2 years before this, it was online, which I did
online.
virtual.
Yeah,
It was really good too.
yeah,
Different. I
yeah.
got to sleep in my own bed and didn't have to sleep in the dorm.
But the experience at UCSD is incredible.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so good. I want to go back.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. Well, I hope that was some value. Check it out. We'll have the link to GYLS in the
Description.
show notes or whatever you call it. Okay.
Description, yeah. Yeah,
Good.
take care, everyone. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.